Welcome to Automate Your Agency. Every week, we bring you expert insights, practical tips, and success stories that will help you streamline your business operations and boost your growth. Let's get started on your journey to more efficient and scalable operations. This one is probably one of my favorite ones that we put together, and it is how to create a client hub.
An internal client hub, not to be confused with a client portal.
True. This isn't something your clients see. This is something on how you run your agency with.
Yes. Or B2B company.
Yes.
Because if you have clients, you need an internal client hub.
Yeah, this one is really, because so many things branch off of this one piece. And I feel like it's a core system that we have in place now and that we help our clients put in place.
Absolutely. I think we had a lot of failed starts or a lot of attempts at building this over the years because we always knew we needed some way to store client information. And I think we spent a lot of time on CRMs and other things like that where we had client data. But once we finally came up with this internal client hub structure that we've been using for years now, it changed the game for us.
You know, that's a really good point on what you're saying about like CRM versus, and let's be specific here, our internal client hub is in a project management system. We have it built out in ClickUp. Asana Monday could work too for it. But when we think about the client hub, a lot of times my brain automatically goes to how I used to manage it when we had 600 clients at our previous company that we built and sold, is I used Pipedrive a lot for how I managed the team. And although it got the job done, it wasn't as robust as what we've built out in our project management system. And so I wish I could have taken what I built in Pipedrive and put it in here back then.
Yes.
Like rewind, fast forward and rewind.
Okay. All right. I think I follow. All right. So let's talk about just at a high level, what is an internal client hub?
Well, at the very basic, it's a list of your clients.
Yep.
Like, it's that simple, but it's much more than that.
Yes. Yes. So one of the things that we found makes really easy, and the reason that we put it in a tool like ClickUp is we can automate data into ClickUp. So we actually, when a deal is won in Pipedrive, we still use Pipedrive. When a deal is won in Pipedrive, we'll run an automation that automatically creates a record in our client hub in ClickUp. And then using that data, we can actually run additional automations that help power the project management side and the account management side of our business, which we'll touch on here near the end of this podcast or the end of this episode. But so we've got this list of clients. We don't even have to data enter it in. We have data coming from our CRM, which is our sales process. So we use Pipedrive exclusively to manage our sales process. When somebody is interested in doing work with us, they get in as a lead. We work them all the way through to a closed or one deal. And once that hits, it actually triggers an entire client onboarding automation. And part of that automation is adding all the data that we've stored. So the business name, the contact information, all of that into a single record in the client hub inside of ClickUp. And just for that one piece for client onboarding that you're talking about, we went from having to manually do about 2 hours of work to onboard a client to 0 hours of work. Like it's all automated. It automatically kicks off and it's super consistent for the client because they immediately start getting onboarded. I mean, that's what client onboarding is. They're not having to wait 3 days, a week for somebody to go in and start doing those tasks. Or if we forget a step in client onboarding, which
makes
happened
it consistent.
a lot.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yep. So that automation is killer. That adds it to the client hub. The client hub is a list of our clients. And then what can we do with this client hub? My favorite thing, because I look at this every day, is I use that client hub to help me understand how much billing we potentially have coming in from each client and how much time our team is spending on that at a very high level. This is not capacity management or resource management. This is simply saying we have X number of active clients. Let's say we have 20 active clients and we know how much, what type of billing that is. Are they hourly? Are they project? Are they fixed price project? Are they recurring? And then we know how much time. In fact, we even set criteria. That's what's the max number that we could spend.
And it's so this one piece for an account manager and a project manager, then they know what boundaries to have. A client does not want, if it's a billable time client, they don't want, and they're expecting to be billed 20 hours a month, they don't want a bill for 100 hours.
Most of them don't.
That does not make a happy client.
They don't like that kind of surprise.
So you're able to set some boundaries so that the team knows, without you micromanaging, the team knows what boundaries are in place, how to keep that client happy, and to keep work moving forward within the parameters that are set.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because I tend to think of these things in systems and automation. And so we have these data points that we can leverage in automation. So we can start creating automated reports saying, hey, this client is set to whatever, just say 10 hours a week max. Well, we can tie an automation into our time tracking software that says client A is at 8 hours and we are 10 hour a week max and it's Wednesday when we're running this report. So that means we have 2 hours left before we hit our max. We don't have to have a manual person in there checking all of these things.
Yes.
So from a data point perspective, it's killer. But you're also bringing up a really good point, which is from a project management perspective or account management, a person can check in at any time and get the answer. Now, the previous episode that we recorded on this podcast was all about saving an hour. We could have added this to that podcast because this is one of those situations where you're providing a system or a tool or data that provides the information to answer a question that your team would have without being interrupted, without having to answer the question. The end. No. So, I mean, that works really, really well. I know you have a favorite part of the...
Well, mine is, and I'm going to tell you why before I tell you what it is. I would get so angry when we'd have to do client status update calls with the whole team to like work through where we are, what roadblocks, are things running smoothly and going through each client. Because at some point, you're going to have somebody sitting on that part of the call that's just sitting on that part of the call.
Can we rewind for a second? Because you are bringing up an amazing, amazing point on this. Let's rewind and say, why did we have to have those calls?
Because we did not have the visibility that we needed into what was happening with the clients. We didn't have a client hub at that time.
Yes.
And our only way was to get on a call and work through, like we still had a process for it I think it was once a week, I think.
Depending how off of client projects, how urgent things were. But to really put it in perspective, things used to be urgent a lot. Now we have a dashboard that we look at and things are very rarely urgent on the client side. One of the reasons is because we were able to put this process in place or this client hub in place, which allows us to do so much more with the automation and answering questions. But where you're going with this as we rewind is I remember spending hours and I would go through every single active client, every single project, and then list out every single priority that we had to get done for them. Then we got the entire team together and we went over every single one. And those were the meetings that you wanted to pull your hair out.
Oh, yeah, because I'm just seeing all the time and cost for us to accomplish this. And it's like, that's not scalable. How do you scale?
Yeah, 1 hour meeting times 8 to 10 people.
Yes.
And no billable time
Nothing's happening.
during that.
And so, I was very vocal, like, we have to change how we're doing this. This is not working. We cannot spend this much time on it. And, it took us a little bit of time to develop what does this look like? And the Client Hub is now our place for client statuses. And so this is my favorite thing because us as business owners know the status. If we need to know the status of a client, high level, we know. If there's a roadblock, this is a weekly status update that our account manager does. So they go in and they list whatever it is.
It's actually modified now where it's so easy to do. It's not even weekly. It's just at each milestone. So anytime that something happens with the client, It goes right up into the Client Hub as a status update to allow leadership, us, to know what's going on.
And it's been extremely valuable because we might think of things from a different perspective, like, hey, you know what? We could actually be doing this with them. And that's solved in 3 minutes versus being on a weekly call. The other piece that I love is that we have this history all documented. It's not just verbal on a call. And for doing case studies, client wins, testimonials.
You used that just like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I've got everything I need. So for a marketing perspective, our team can take those and say, this is what we did. These were the roadblocks the client was hitting, and this is how we solved it. And we have everything. We don't even have to talk to the account manager. We don't have to bother anybody to build that in less than an hour.
Yeah, over time we added a few things. So we do the status updates per client when things are happening. We also have a status of the client. So active, waiting for work, paused, complete, things like that, which gives us tons of information on not only just our active clients, but our past clients. And so now we can start analyzing. We know, especially like in ClickUp, with the automation, adding new records into the Client Hub, it's tracking the creation date. Well, it's also tracking the completion or closed date. So now we can easily look through our entire Client Hub and calculate our lifetime value for how long clients stay on board with engagements with us.
Yeah. And then when we're looking at that, and it's all about having data so easily where you're just visually, we have some stuff color coded for statuses, if they're active or not, things like that. And, you know, for an inactive client that maybe they were waiting, we didn't have a service offering for what they needed. We could go through inactive clients, you know, once a quarter and say, you know what, we weren't doing that then, but now we are doing this. So let's just circle back and do a call with them.
Yep. Yeah.
Super valuable.
Extremely, extremely. The other things that we've added in over time is the assignments of our team to the clients. So who's the account manager for the client? Who's the lead architect for the client? Who's the secondary architect? All of that kind of stuff. So now we can start producing reports and dashboards by account manager. And we could see, all right, this account manager has X number of clients. And it provides us a visual into all of this rather than like, ooh, that should be this person or that should be this person. We're actually making critical and important decisions about how clients get disseminated across our team and who can do what. We can look at a single dashboard and know how many clients each architect has on our team to produce automation for them.
I mean, and every one of these pieces is so important from a business management standpoint because we have the amount of expected billable time or hours to work on per week for that client. We have the production person, we have an account manager. If we have a client that we're working 100 hours a week on versus one that we're working 5 hours a week on, that is a different time perspective for our production team person and our account manager to manage those two different clients. So we can't have an account manager that's working on a huge client. We can't have 20 of those types of clients on that account manager. So for a capacity, now I'm not talking about like client capacity and managing our team in the nitty gritty, but bigger picture, just how does our team manage clients? We can't load 20 huge clients on one account manager. And this client hub helps us determine that within minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was a complete game changer when we got those in there. I'll tell you, my other favorite part of this that's been also a huge game changer for us is all these data points in the client hub allowed us, and I mentioned this kind of at the beginning when we were summarizing this, it powers other automations. So for example, what we were talking about with the status updates, we used to have to manually remember which clients per account manager needed to be updated, and then we would give once a week updates. Then we realized, okay, that was very hard to manage because some clients would come on board, oh, we forget to add them to the account manager list for updates, and then they didn't get updates. Or some clients would leave, and then they were still on the list to get updates. So that meant we were managing two sources of data instead of having a single source of truth, which we preach about a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So this created a single source of truth. When this was a single source of truth, now we can create automation. So the automation that we have running now, it essentially, every Wednesday at like 1 a.m., it goes through the client hub automatically and by account manager pulls out all the clients that each account manager has assigned to them and then dynamically creates a task with a checklist of which clients they need to update. So that gives an easy checklist for every account manager just to go right down the list and go updated, et cetera.
Yeah.
And make sure that everybody's checked in. And it doesn't matter if clients have come or gone or are paused or waiting for work. All of those statuses are data points in the client hub, which means the automation can easily know what to do with all of that. So that streamlined everything and took out a ton of manual labor for us for operational management. So that's more on the operational side. But again, now I think we made this client hub sound really complicated. So maybe we dial it back a bit and talk about what it actually, in our ClickUp account, what it actually is. It's a single list in a table view.
Yeah, like it
looks like a spreadsheet.
It does. It's so simple to look at and build, and it solves so many problems in the business.
Yep.
It really doesn't take that much time to build out, even if you don't have the automation at first automatically putting in there. Because you're starting now, you don't have this automation, you don't have a client hub. To build this out is a couple hours maybe of work.
Yeah, probably not even that. I mean, really, we iterated this over time. And of course, we give our clients the shortcut into how to do all of this. But if you're looking to create something like this, you would need something like Asana, ClickUp, or Monday. You create a list, a project, or a board. And then in that, you just start creating the name of the item in the board is going to be your client name. And then you start adding custom fields for the things that you want to track. The comments in that item are going to be your status updates. And at a bare minimum, that's it. Adding the automation can come down the road. Integrating other data points can come down the road. It's very easy to drop in and change at any time. But that's all of the stuff that we talked about today is now done with one simple list inside of ClickUp.
Yeah. And this will bleed into our next podcast, which is about a skills tracker for your team so you can keep up with who is able to do what at your organization.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about that one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Automate Your Agency. We hope you're inspired to take your business to the next level. We have free content and tools for automating your business at our website, workdayninja.com.
And join us next week as we dive into more ways to automate and scale your business.
Bye for now.